Beloved intrepid viewers, I am back. I'm back in my house. So it's so exciting after all those months. And as you can see, I've been to the hairdresser. Now, long-term intrepid viewers will know that hairdresser is Betty from Baghdad. So I went to see Betty this morning. So she's tamed the bush pig. So there you go. My hair will look sort of normal for 48 hours. Now, a lot happening. Look, it just keeps rolling in. And it's just, frankly, impossible to keep on top of it all. So I thought I'd cover a few random topics today. I've got my new rider weights. It's funny, they feel so stiff compared with the old ones. But a few snippets of news in the meantime. Manafort's son-in-law has been given a sentence of 9 years for various scams. 9 years is quite a long sentence for white-collar crime. So I think this is the direction the judiciary is heading. And as we know, the Bar Association is really sick of these unqualified lawyers that the Trump administration keeps sending up. And I think the phrase was they described them as lazy, arrogant ideologues. I do love that. Now, what else has been happening? We'll talk about Nikki Haley. We'll talk about Michael Bloomberg. Don Jr. got booed at his own book launch. I think that's an interesting one. We might just check in on him. But to me, the most interesting thing is these seats have been quietly going to the Dems in red states. And thank you for keeping me up to date with this, viewers. But in Delaware, all 5 seats have now gone to the Dems. These are seats that have been Republican since the Civil War. So they're talking up large, but you know what? The suburbs are talking. So a lot to cover. A quick look, I think, first, Nikki Haley. Yes, viewers, that's right. I did Nikki Haley, the Girl Scout with the Uzi, nearly 2 years ago. And I said, watch this woman, she's got presidential ambitions. And then I said they will start using her and rolling her out. But that doesn't bode well for Pence if they're muttering about Nikki Haley. So they must think Pence is going down. It would, of course, not be good news for the evangelicals. We won't lose any sleep about that. So let's have a look at Nikki Haley. Okay. So I'll just move this back a bit. I'm using Zoom again, and it doesn't have as big a frontal area to work with. And I think I will go back to Skype. But in the meantime, please bear with me, viewers. So, interesting, Nikki. I'll do a slightly bigger spread for her. All right. Her central card or her signifier is the embattled card. I don't think it's her that feels embattled. She's got all the cards in her hand. She's got nothing to lose. I think this is the GOP embattled over this decision, whether to ditch Pence because he's going to get caught up in all this legal drama. So that's my vibe on that card. Underneath her, the sometimes Trump card, he's sometimes the Emperor, sometimes the King of Pentacles. I'm thinking he's never liked Pence. And Nikki Haley has thrown her hat into the ring this week by saying, oh, these terrible people, you know, Tillerson and Kelly tried to make me say nasty things about the president. So she's secured her role as a sycophant to the greedy king. On top of her, she's going to be happy to compromise her values because they're all prepared to truck out their values that they allegedly hold so dear. So that's her through line there. Now, unconsciously for Nikki Haley, the wheel of fortune is operating. So fate is at work with this, viewers. Now, consciously, what she gets the death card reversed. I get so few reversals, as you know. So the death card, all of us as readers will stress it, very rarely refers to a literal death, and it doesn't hear the end of one big cycle of her life and another starting. But it's reversed. So instead of it sort of ending and beginning, I think there's going to be, because of these other cards too, they're all about compromise and the GOP being embattled. I think this is going to get extremely ugly. And I would also take this moment to point out, when you look at the Rider-Waite, I hope you can see it on this, feeble camera. This is death riding in, trampling the king. The crown is falling. So, interim outcome. She's a mercenary witch like these others. Like, she's ruled by money too. They occupy this moral space, don't they, viewers? If you're a lefty or a liberal or even a centrist, you're seen to sort of not have values, and only the religious right has values. They'd sell each other out in a heartbeat. They are the most scabrous, absolutely vile, empty souls. They are just disgusting. Long-term outcome, manipulation. She's going to keep the balls in the air. In other words, they're embattled. She's now got support in the GOP. There'd be those who are backing Pence for all the obvious reasons, those that are now backing her. She could keep the balls in the air. In other words, if she doesn't get offered the vice presidency now, you watch out for her in 2024. Because I predict that the GOP has got to be very careful with this sellout that they're doing, because they could be gone for 2 generations, and they'd be very smart, I hate to say it, but they'd be very smart to run her in 2024. So that's what I see Nikki for now. I'm not ruling it out, but I think she's more likely in 2024. Now, the way Betty blow-dried my hair, it keeps falling in my face. That's why I'm not good at the girly things. It drives me insane. Okay, now, Michael Bloomberg, like the world needs another billionaire to put up their hand, like they know how normal people think and feel, he'd have to be better than the Yeti, but I wish they'd just stop doing it. Why don't you put money, lots of money, into voter registration drives and help people out on the ground? If you care, you don't have to run for the main gig. He's always lusted after it on some level, while saying every time, I think this is almost, it's definitely his 2nd time, maybe even his 3rd, maybe even his 4th. It's like, I've got shitloads of money, so I might try and be president this year. I don't like it, viewers. I just don't like it. So anyway, I hope that doesn't colour the reading. Let me try and deprogram. Michael Bloomberg, what's going to happen there? Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg. Right. Well, you know, he's got very good cards. It starts off with this ruthlessness and prepared to do anything at any cost. But although I'm sure he has a degree of ruthlessness, it's a bit like Nikki Haley's main card. I don't think this is actually him. I think it's the situation is so offensive to him that he does feel a bit of a compulsion to try and do something. So, yes, I don't think this is Bloomberg himself. It's the outrage that's caused by anyone who has a heart or a mind or a soul with the Trump era that is pushing him forward this time. Hierophant. Now, although he's a high-flying businessman, he would want to bring back what is recognisably law and order, the pillars of wisdom to the United States, a steadying hand on the tiller, right? Now, then he has these very good cards. Ugh. Okay, so you have the Two of Cups, you know, joining together in a pact. He will get support. This could be him and big business. Because lest we forget, the second big business got their tax cuts. They went back to their previous position, which is Trump is actually catastrophic for the economy. And they've been behind the scenes in big money land. They've been worried about the tariffs and everything else. Women celebrating, meaning he could attract the female vote. He could do very well with that. And the icing on the cake, he gets the lover's card, a pact or an agreement. But to me, that's laying the land. It's not necessarily, will he go ahead and would he get the nomination? So I'm going to do a few clarifiers. So yes, to me, this is bringing us up to date with the picture, but not actually necessary. He's got the power, he's got the money, he's got the influence, he's got the connections. Oops. But will he get anywhere? Personally, I think it's cheating to come into the race this late. Let everyone else tear each other apart and then you swan in and save it. I really don't like what he's done here. If he'd thrown his hat in at the beginning like everyone else, I wouldn't have an issue, but it really doesn't matter what a tarot reader in Australia thinks. It's more important for the American public. So will Michael Bloomberg get the nomination, do you think? Okay, what do we get here? Love and the doctor and the domestic. I'm leaning towards no. At the beginning, there's a bit of a love affair. He's singing the song that people want to hear. I've got the money to fund my own campaign. Where have we heard this before? You know, sweet talking business and the public. But the more worrying card is the dottore, or the doctor and the sick person. Again, I don't think it's literally sickness. I think the initial shine will wear off. And then he gets the domestic enemy. So this could be the Dems going, you know what? No. Well, we'll see. We will see. All right, now. So yeah, I think he'll float around for a little while yet and then back off. Now, the GOP, as you all know, well-informed viewers, have said they're just not going to impeach. Doesn't matter what is put in front of them, they're not going to read it, and it doesn't matter what witnesses say, they're not listening, and they're not going to impeach. So in other words, just saying this is a scandal beyond belief. I can't believe it. I'm really lost for words, viewers, but there we go. I'll just do a quick one before I get to Don Jr. on this question of the GOP. Oh, sorry, I just heard a news flash in the background about the fires. It's really not good. Today's the critical day. It's called catastrophic weather event today. No way you can put a positive spin on that, can you, really? Now, the Dems say they won't. This is the Dems impeaching. They're absolutely right. No, they won't, despite everything. So in other words, they're in retreat now. They're on the back foot now, doubly. This is the hangman hanging around, not moving forward. Not a lot of movement in these cards, you'd have to say, viewers. Then they're going to have a prick of conscience, and there's going to be some of them saying, this is not good. We're going to lose the independence, we're going to lose the middle if we pursue this. But then, because they're in league with the devil, that's what they're going to do, not impeach. So bear in mind, like so many things, viewers, all these things are in a state of flux. And that's why it's so hard to read on, because you don't know when a hero or a heroine is going to step forward and change the landscape. You don't know how mad and bad these legal stories are going to get. So none of these things are set in stone. It's up to you guys. It's an historical watershed moment. When I say moment, I mean 5 years of a moment. In terms of America as a nation, like a white Australia, you're a very young nation, perhaps just getting into the teenage years. So we'll see if youth enroll and come forward. All these outcomes can be radically different or not. So it's up to you. People don't necessarily want to be on the cusp of an historical moment. People didn't want to be, I'm sure, when they were young things, think they'd have to go off to war for the First and Second World Wars and other wars around the world, and huge momentous things, lest we forget the Civil War, and so on. So this is an historical time. You know, is America up to the challenge? This is why you've been given Trump, I believe, by the universe, to make it crystal clear that people have taken their eye off the ball. It's not a functioning democracy. A chimpanzee on skates can get into the White House, that the Republican Party would sell their grandchildren to keep their jobs, that religion is distorted and prostituted on the altar of the prosperity gospel. What about Trump's new religious advisor? That's funny in itself as a description, you'd have to say. And she came out and said into the camera, now, this is to her congregations and anyone else who was listening, obviously, you just give me money and I'll tell you how your life's going to pan out. She may as well be a tarot reader. And sadly, only the poor fall for this. This is what happens when you do not fund public education. You end up with a gullible underclass. And that's how this has taken off. In Australia too, please do not think you're alone in this momentous time in the world. You are not alone. So even though everyone in the UK thinks Boris Johnson is Yeti too and a disaster, they're going to vote for him. You watch. They're going to have a general election and they hate Jeremy Corbyn, who's the head of Labor, they're Dems. So it's like the Hillary thing. Not going to vote for him. I'll vote in this absolute self-serving. What is it about malignant narcissists? They seem to be rising to the top wherever you look. Okay, well, let's finish on Don Jr. Bird at his own book launch. No, it won't be the last. I'll do a little bit on Trump just before I finish too. A little bit more for you because I've been gone for 4 days. So quick one on Don Jr. and then on his father. Don Jr. Hanging around after the money, secrets, worried about the money. That's the only thing they think about. I mean, it's such a primitive mindset. So he's not going anywhere in a hurry. This card, for those learning tarot, can be great for initiating new projects and moving forward. Wonderful, but also fool's gold. And I know which interpretation I prefer here. Quite clearly the hidden agendas. And this is thinking and evaluating his personal stash. So I'll do a more elaborate spread on what's going on for him mentally. That's just a little mini taster. But back to Trump, the impulse control deficit in the Oval Office. You have to think, intrepid ones, you have to think he's stressed. He's got these elections going on that are being lost by the GOP. He's got impeachment hanging over his head, you know. And he's got the Roger Stone trial. That's going to be entertaining. I'll have to get out the circus cards for Roger Stone. So I've done Trump in November, but just a little catch up on Trump. But let's frame the question. Yeah, what does Trump think is going to happen? What does he think is going to happen? We'll see. What does Trump think is going to happen? Does he know how serious these things are? Or not? What does Trump think is going to happen? Just from now till the end of the year. What does Trump think is going to happen? Oh, how hilarious. Yes, well, he's a Gemini, so he has two things. In his case, they're flip-flopping around the empty cranium, you know, because he doesn't stay with anything. He still thinks he's popular, and he still thinks he's popular with women. That's a curious phenomenon in itself, viewers. The star card, as I've been saying these last few readings, could it be the card for America holding its own against him? But I don't think so. This is his personal take on what is happening. He's convinced he's the star. He's convinced that he will have legal victories, right? So all of that is on the positive side. When the Adderall wears off and he's alone at night, he's fearful and disappointed. He's running out of energy with the Five of Cups. The 3 cups are down and the 2 are up. In other words, He's down now more than he's up. Okay. He's having fantasies about leaving. See, this is where he's caught himself, hasn't he, viewers? He would love to be able to go, look, I'm just out of here. I'm going to resign and blame everyone else, and I'll go back to my previous life. So he has fantasies about that, but I don't think that's going to help. Now I'm going to put the link up for your Intrepid Viewer t-shirts and your Yeti Another Name t-shirts, so check that out. A big shout out as always to the other readers. Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot, I'll get in touch. Let's do another combined video soon. The Australian Auntie series, we were trying to get another video to you. And I just want to say again and often how much I love you guys and how I love this work. Thank you so much for being here. All right. See you soon.